It was the kind of Sunday Cleveland fans dread, and by the time the final whistle blew, the scoreboard didn't just read loss, it screamed exposed. Ravens 41, Browns 10. That number alone tells a story, but the real pain is in how it happened. This wasn't a tough, hard-fought defeat where you tip your cap and move on. No, this was domination. And not just by Lamar Jackson and the Ravens' offense. This was a beatdown in every phase: defense, offense, special teams, even morale. From the very first drive, Baltimore made it clear they weren't here to play around. Cleveland's defense, a group that was once the team's proud identity, looked confused, a step slow, almost lifeless. Missed tackles turned 5-yard gains into 25-yard highlights. Coverage busts left Ravens receivers wide open, and Cleveland's front seven couldn't generate pressure when it mattered most. It wasn't just one player or one bad break, it was a complete collapse. On the offensive side, the story wasn't much better. Joe Flacco, the veteran meant to keep things steady, looked rattled by the Ravens' relentless blitz packages. Drives stalled. Third downs felt impossible. Even the offensive line, which has been a point of pride, seemed out of sync. By the third quarter, fans watching at home were already firing off tweets demanding change. "Put in Shedeur," one post read. Another, "If we're gonna lose, at least let the rookie take his lumps." And that's the thing, this loss didn't just sting, it opened a floodgate. For weeks, Browns fans have been whispering about Shedeur Sanders. Should he play? Could he be the spark this offense needs? Is he ready? Until now, those conversations were more curiosity than urgency. But after what we saw on Sunday, curiosity has turned into a full-blown cry for action. You could feel it in the stadium, too. As the game dragged on, the energy shifted from disappointment to frustration to flat-out restlessness. Every incomplete pass was met with groans. Every defensive breakdown brought boos. By the time the Ravens punched in their final touchdown, you could practically hear the message echoing across the city. Do something. Shake things up. Give us a reason to believe again. Because this wasn't just one bad game. This was a mirror being held up to the Browns' season. It exposed deeper problems that can't be ignored anymore. Leadership, effort, identity, all of it is now in question. And standing right in the middle of this storm is Shedeur Sanders, the rookie QB with a famous name, sky-high expectations, and a fan base desperate to see if he's the future, or just another name on Cleveland's long, painful quarterback list. This is the crossroads moment. The Ravens game didn't just hurt the Browns' record, it might have changed their entire season, maybe even their long-term plan. And the question now is simple: what does Cleveland do next? To understand why Cleveland fans are so quick to demand change, why every loss feels like a breaking point, you have to understand the weight this franchise carries at quarterback. The Browns' history at the position isn't just rocky, it's practically legendary for its instability. Since the franchise returned to the NFL in 1999, Cleveland has started over 30 different quarterbacks. 30. That's an entire classroom's worth of QBs, each one introduced as the guy who might finally turn it around. The list reads like a cautionary tale. Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Brandon Weeden, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson. Each one brought hype, hope, and eventually heartbreak. Fans have seen first-round busts, journeyman stopgaps, late-round flyers who never developed, and even expensive blockbuster trades that didn't pay off. The jersey of shame. That infamous fan-made jersey with every starting QB's name taped on the back became a national meme, growing longer year after year. This history is why every snap in Cleveland feels so amplified. Fans aren't just watching games, they're watching patterns, waiting for the other shoe to drop. When a QB struggles, even for a few games, it's never seen as an isolated slump, it's seen as the start of another failed chapter. That's the burden every quarterback who puts on an orange helmet inherits. And this era was supposed to be different. The Browns invested heavily in Deshaun Watson, giving him a massive guaranteed contract, a move meant to finally end the revolving door. But between suspensions, injuries, and inconsistency, Watson hasn't delivered the stability Cleveland thought it was buying. That's why the Browns brought in Joe Flacco last year, the veteran presence to keep the offense functional. And yet, despite his experience, the team still finds itself losing badly in games like the one against Baltimore. All of this creates a pressure cooker for any young quarterback on the roster, especially one like Shedeur Sanders. Fans don't just want him to succeed, they need him to succeed, because hope in Cleveland has been burned so many times before. And with each embarrassing loss, the demand for change grows louder. When Browns fans chant for Shedeur, they aren't just chanting for a rookie to get playing time. They're chanting for the cycle to finally be broken. For the team to pick a direction and stick with it. For anything, to give them a reason to believe that this year won't end the same way as the last 20 years have ended, in disappointment. This is the emotional backdrop to every conversation about Sanders. It's why trade rumors, benchings, and depth chart debates aren't just sports talk, they feel existential. In Cleveland, the quarterback isn't just another position. He's the symbol of hope. And right now, that hope is hanging by a thread. And into this storm stepped Shedeur Sanders, not just another quarterback prospect, but a name that carries weight far beyond the Browns' locker room. The son of Hall of Famer Dayan, primetime Sanders, Shedeur has been in the spotlight since before he could drive. Expectations have always followed him, but so has a quiet confidence that made him stand out from other prospects. His journey is already the stuff of sports documentaries. First, he lit up the field at Jackson State, putting HBCU football back on the national map under his father's coaching. Then came the move to Colorado, one of the most publicized transfers in college football history. Shedeur didn't just survive the bright lights, he thrived. Week after week, he delivered big throws, comeback wins, and highlight reel moments that had scouts taking notice. He wasn't just a quarterback. He was a leader, a showman, and a cultural figure who made people tune in. But the NFL draft is a cold, analytical process. Despite gaudy numbers, Shedeur slid farther than many predicted, falling to the Browns in the 5th round. Some analysts saw this as a steal, others viewed it as a warning sign. Was he really NFL ready? Did his success come from the system or his talent? Cleveland didn't care about the chatter, they saw an opportunity. They saw a player with poise, accuracy, and a natural charisma that could eventually make him the face of the franchise. From the moment he put on the orange helmet, the excitement was palpable. Fans flooded social media with edits of Shedeur in Browns gear, dreaming about what he could become. Training camp practices were packed with fans hopping to catch a glimpse of him slinging passes. And when he finally stepped on the field in preseason, even in limited reps, you could feel the electricity. Shedeur's game isn't just about stats. He plays with a calmness that makes teammates trust him and opponents respect him. He doesn't panic in the pocket, he isn't afraid to take a hit, and he's already shown flashes of that clutch gene that wins games in the 4th quarter. And yet, he's still learning, still adjusting to NFL speed, still developing timing with his receivers, still waiting for that first real chance to run the show. That's the tension in Cleveland right now. A fan base desperate to see what they have in Sanders, and a coaching staff balancing patience with pressure. Shedeur represents more than just a rookie quarterback. He represents hope, change, and the possibility of a different future. In a city tired of watching the same mistakes play out over and over again, he feels like a reset button, the chance to finally build something that lasts. And after the Ravens game, that hope has turned into a rallying cry. Let the kid play. The Browns' Week 1 clash with the Ravens was supposed to be a tone setter, a chance to prove that last year's struggles were behind them, that the offense was steadier, that the defense was still elite. Instead, it turned into a nightmare from the opening kickoff. Baltimore didn't just win. They dismantled Cleveland in every conceivable way, and in doing so, they ripped the lid off every concern Browns fans had been whispering about all offseason. Joe Flacco, the veteran meant to bring stability, looked overmatched from the jump. Baltimore's blitz packages came fast and often, and Flacco simply couldn't keep up. The result? Cleveland's offense looked lifeless, managing only 3 points in the first half. Third downs became drive killers, and by halftime, the Browns had fewer than 100 total yards of offense. But if the offense was bad, the defense was worse. This was supposed to be the unit that carried Cleveland, a top 5 group last season, loaded with stars like Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. Against the Ravens, though, they looked a step slow, missing tackles, blowing coverages, and giving Lamar Jackson easy lanes to exploit. The Ravens ran the ball at will, controlled the clock, and turned short passes into chunk plays. By the time the scoreboard read 27-3, it felt like the Browns had been physically and emotionally broken. The body language told the story. Players on the sideline looked frustrated, helmets off, staring into the distance. Coaches were visibly angry, shouting on the headset, scrambling for answers. And in the stands, the fans made their feelings known. Boos rained down after every stalled drive, and chants for Shedeur Sanders started echoing through the stadium before the fourth quarter even began. This was supposed to be a game where the Browns showed they belonged in the AFC conversation. Instead, it was a game that made them look like pretenders. And it wasn't just the score, it was how predictable the collapse felt. Cleveland fans have seen this script before. A slow start, a defense that cracks, an offense that never gets going, and a game that's out of reach before the fourth quarter. And that's why this loss feels so significant. It wasn't just another L in the standings. It was a public reminder that the current plan might not be working. Flacco's ceiling is limited. The defense isn't perfect. And as long as Sanders sits on the bench, fans will wonder if they're wasting valuable time. The Ravens game has become a turning point. It's no longer just about whether the Browns can bounce back next week. It's about whether they have the guts to make a change, to hand the keys to the rookie, to finally find out if Shedeur Sanders is the answer or just another chapter in Cleveland's never-ending quarterback saga. If there's one thing Cleveland fans know how to do, it's make their voices heard, and after the Ravens debacle, they were louder than ever. Twitter or X, Reddit, and Browns fan forums lit up within minutes of the final whistle. Bench Flacco. Start Shedeur. What do we have to lose? The tone wasn't just frustrated, it was urgent, almost desperate. This wasn't a fan base calling for tweaks or adjustments. This was a city demanding a shake-up. At First Energy Stadium, the chants for Sanders weren't subtle. Fans were shouting his name during the fourth quarter, and by the time the Ravens' backups were running out the clock, it felt like a full-on audition for the rookie was being demanded. Clips of those chants went viral, with sports media accounts amplifying them and calling it the moment Cleveland turned on its QB room. Local talk radio hosts fanned the flames the next morning. Callers phoned in with anger, disbelief, and a single theme: play the kid. One fan summed up the sentiment perfectly. We've seen what Joe Flacco is. We know where this ends. Give us something new. For a fan base that has lived through 20-plus years of quarterback heartbreak, the allure of a potential savior like Sanders is irresistible. And it's not just the fans. The national media is picking up on it too. ESPN segments debated whether Cleveland should rip the Band-Aid off and start Sanders immediately. Analysts pointed out that the Browns' schedule only gets tougher from here, so waiting could be pointless if they dig themselves into a deeper hole. Others warned that rushing a rookie onto the field too soon could hurt his development, comparing Sanders' situation to other young QBs who were thrown into chaos and never recovered. Still, the pressure is mounting. Every bad throw from Flacco, every stalled drive, every lopsided loss will add fuel to the fire. Reporters are already peppering the coaching staff with questions. When will Sanders get first-team reps? What's holding him back? Is a quarterback change on the table? Even the front office is starting to feel the heat, as trade rumors swirl linking Sanders to QB-needy teams like the Bengals and Colts. For Cleveland, this is more than just a personnel decision. It's a test of their philosophy. Do they stay patient, protect Sanders, and trust their veteran to stabilize things? Or do they give the city what it's asking for and risk the growing pains that come with starting a rookie? Right now, the noise is deafening. The Browns can't ignore it forever. And with every passing week, the pressure to act, whether that means starting Sanders or moving him in a blockbuster trade, only grows stronger. In Cleveland, hope isn't just a luxury anymore. It's a demand. When a fan base starts chanting a rookie's name and the team keeps losing, the rest of the NFL takes notice. And when that rookie's last name is Sanders, the interest doubles. In the days following the Ravens' blowout, the trade rumor mill kicked into overdrive. National reporters floated the idea that Shedeur Sanders could be a target for quarterback-needy teams, and suddenly, Cleveland's decision wasn't just a local story, it was league-wide news. The most persistent rumor centers on the Cincinnati Bengals. With Joe Burrow sidelined by injury, Cincinnati is in win-now mode, and the idea of trading for a young, talented quarterback to keep their playoff hopes alive has gained traction. Analysts have debated potential packages: a mid-round pick plus a conditional future selection, maybe even a player-for-player swap. For the Bengals, Sanders would be both insurance and intrigue, someone who could keep them competitive now and possibly develop into a long-term option. But Cincinnati isn't alone. The Indianapolis Colts have reportedly inquired about Sanders as well, intrigued by his leadership and his fit in Shane Steichen's offense. Indianapolis has their own young QB in Anthony Richardson, but injuries and inconsistency have made them explore depth options. Adding Sanders could give them a high-upside backup and create healthy competition. Meanwhile, some insiders insist Cleveland isn't actively shopping Sanders, at least not yet. The Browns used a draft pick on him for a reason, and there's an argument that moving him now would be selling low, before they've even seen what he can do with first-team reps. You don't trade away a player who could be your future just because of one bad game, one former scout told Browns Nation. You at least need to know what you have. Still, the conversation isn't going away. As long as Sanders is on the bench, he's an asset other teams will covet. And if the Browns keep losing, the calls from rival GMs will only get more aggressive. Cleveland's front office has to weigh two competing timelines: their desire to win now with veteran stability and their long-term plan to develop Sanders into a potential franchise cornerstone. The league is watching closely because Sanders isn't just another backup quarterback. He's a potential storyline waiting to explode. If Cleveland trades him, it could reshape the AFC playoff race. If they start him, it could redefine their entire season. And if they keep him on the bench too long, they risk his value dropping and the locker room fracturing. The Browns are officially on the clock. Trade him, play him, or keep stringing this out, every option comes with risk. And in the high-stakes world of the NFL, indecision can be the most dangerous option of all. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a name on a depth chart. He's a package of tools that NFL teams dream about, mixed with areas that require refinement. Understanding both sides of that equation is key to seeing why the Browns' decision isn't as simple as play him or trade him. Let's start with what he brings. First and foremost, his football IQ is elite. Playing under Deion Sanders at Colorado, Shedeur has been exposed to complex defensive schemes, high-pressure situations, and constant media attention. That experience has honed his decision-making, his pre-snap reads, and his ability to adjust protections and play calls on the fly. For a rookie, that's invaluable. It can shorten the learning curve in the NFL dramatically. Then there's his accuracy and timing, particularly in the short and intermediate passing game. Modern offenses live in this area, and Shedeur has consistently shown the ability to hit precise windows, anticipate defenders, and deliver the ball where only his receiver can make the catch. His deep ball ability is also promising. He has a strong arm and can make throws on the run, which opens up the playbook for creative offensive coordinators. Beyond skill, Sanders brings leadership and poise. He doesn't panic under pressure, he commands huddles with confidence, and he inspires teammates with his work ethic and focus. In Cleveland, a locker room that has experienced frustration and inconsistency at QB, that kind of presence could be transformative. Simply having a quarterback who exudes calm authority can elevate the play of everyone around him. However, there are things he still needs to develop. NFL speed and processing will be the biggest adjustment. College defenses move slower, and while Shedeur has thrived against high-level competition, NFL defenders operate faster, disguise coverages better, and punish hesitation. He'll need reps against first-team defenses to build the mental and physical timing that separates good quarterbacks from elite ones. He also needs to build chemistry with receivers. Timing, route adjustments, and understanding tendencies are learned through practice and live game experience. A quarterback's talent is amplified by familiarity with his targets, and that relationship takes time to develop. Finally, there's the intangible element of learning from mistakes without pressure. Sitting on the bench allows him to study film, learn the system, and acclimate to the pro level, but it also risks stagnation if overdone. He needs enough game reps to apply lessons, make adjustments, and build confidence. In short, Sanders is a rare combination of talent, intelligence, and leadership. He can potentially reshape the Browns' future. But he's not a finished product. He's a rookie stepping into a league that will test him at every turn. The Browns have to balance his immediate development with the organization's short-term needs. Too much delay risks wasting his prime. Too much exposure too soon could hamper his growth. It's a delicate equation, and the decisions they make in the coming weeks could define both his career and the franchise's trajectory for years. The Cleveland Browns' struggles go far beyond one quarterback or one humiliating loss. Behind the scenes, the organizational strategy, or lack thereof, has been a recurring problem, and it's now glaringly obvious to fans, media, and rival NFL teams alike. The front office's approach to roster construction, coaching hires, and long-term planning has left the franchise teetering between potential and chaos. For years, the Browns have been a team in search of stability. Quarterback decisions have become a revolving door, with veteran stopgaps and high-risk projects dominating headlines instead of long-term planning. The reluctance to commit to a young, promising QB is part of a broader pattern. The front office tends to favor short-term optics over long-term growth. This has created a culture where development takes a backseat to immediate appearances, and where the hype machine sometimes outweighs football logic. Then there's the coaching philosophy. Jim Schwartz, despite his experience, has struggled to adapt. Defensive schemes have remained largely predictable, leaving opponents with clear templates to exploit. The Browns' play calling and game management have often prioritized conservative decisions over calculated aggression, which may protect a veteran QB but limits the team's ceiling. The front office's hearing decisions, from coordinators to position coaches, reflect a preference for experience over innovation, which is part of the reason the roster's potential hasn't translated into consistent performance. Contract management and asset utilization are also points of concern. Cleveland's handling of draft picks, trades, and rookie contracts has often been reactive rather than proactive. Shedeur Sanders' situation is a perfect example, a franchise-altering talent sitting on the bench while other teams actively pursue him. It's a decision that speaks more to marketing considerations than football strategy. When the potential to build a long-term solution is ignored in favor of short-term revenue or optics, it creates friction between fans, players, and the front office, and it risks alienating a franchise's most valuable assets. Communication, or the lack thereof, compounds the problem. Mixed messages about player usage, development timelines, and organizational priorities leave coaches, players, and fans uncertain about the team's direction. Without a clear, transparent strategy, rumors dominate, expectations spiral out of control, and even competent personnel decisions are overshadowed by narrative chaos. Ultimately, these organizational issues are why the Ravens' blowout was more than a bad loss. It was a mirror reflecting systemic dysfunction. The Browns' leadership faces a crucial test. They must either confront these structural flaws and make bold moves, or continue a cycle of mediocrity. How they handle Shedeur Sanders, draft capital, coaching decisions, and team culture will determine whether the franchise finally builds a sustainable path to contention or remains trapped in a repeating pattern of disappointment. After the Ravens' blowout and the mounting pressure around Shedeur Sanders, the Cleveland Browns find themselves at a crossroads. The decisions made in the coming weeks could define the franchise for years, and there are a few possible scenarios that the front office must weigh carefully. Scenario 1. Start Sanders immediately. The most obvious path for fans desperate for change is to hand the reins to Sanders right away. Doing so would inject energy, hope, and excitement into a stagnant offense and could immediately shift the narrative around the team. Sanders' leadership and accuracy, combined with his ability to extend plays, would give the Browns a dynamic edge they haven't seen in decades. However, the risks are significant. A rookie thrown into the NFL spotlight too early could struggle against elite defenses, potentially damaging confidence and slowing development. Still, many argue that the reward, revitalizing a frustrated fan base and giving the offense a long-term quarterback, outweighs the short-term growing pains. Scenario 2. Keep Sanders on the bench and ride the veterans. The front office could also stick with Flacco and other veterans, betting on experience to stabilize the season. This approach minimizes rookie risk and gives Sanders more time to acclimate, study defenses, and prepare mentally. The problem is obvious. Cleveland is already on thin ice with fans and media, and continuing with the same plan risks further losses and growing frustration. The window for playoff contention narrows with each defeat, and the team could find itself out of contention before Sanders ever sees significant playing time. Scenario 3. Trade Sanders for draft capital or players. Another potential path is leveraging Sanders' value on the trade market. With multiple NFL teams reportedly interested, the Browns could extract significant assets, picks or players, to accelerate rebuilding. This approach guarantees a return on investment, but risks alienating the fan base and surrendering what could be a generational talent. A trade would also signal that Cleveland is prioritizing organizational control and long-term strategy over immediate excitement. A tough message to sell after a humiliating blowout. Scenario 4. A hybrid approach. Some analysts suggest a measured compromise. Gradually integrate Sanders into the offense, giving him spot reps, packages, or specific game situations while keeping Flacco as the primary starter. This approach balances development with team stability and provides fans with glimpses of what Sanders can do without fully committing. The downside is that partial usage may frustrate both the rookie and fans, leaving Sanders unable to build full chemistry with his receivers. Ultimately, the choice comes down to risk versus reward. Cleveland's leadership must weigh the immediate need for wins against the long-term goal of building a sustainable franchise. Each scenario carries potential upsides and serious pitfalls, but one thing is clear: the status quo is no longer acceptable. The Ravens' loss didn't just expose flaws on the field, it exposed structural weaknesses in decision-making, development, and strategy. The next move will define whether the Browns remain stuck in mediocrity or finally embrace a bold path toward a brighter future. At the heart of the Browns' current crossroads lies a fundamental question: do they prioritize hope or mitigate risk? Every decision regarding Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback room, and the broader organizational strategy revolves around this delicate balance. Fans are desperate for hope after years of mediocrity, blown leads, and missed playoff opportunities. Sanders represents a rare chance to ignite that hope, to give the city a quarterback they can rally behind, a player who embodies talent, leadership, and excitement. But hope always comes with risk, and the NFL has a way of punishing even the most promising newcomers if they're not managed carefully. Hope is tangible in Sanders. He's proven at every level, high school, college, and under the pressure of being the son of a football legend, that he can perform under stress. His presence alone electrifies fans, fills stadiums, and shifts the energy in practices and games. For Cleveland, which has long suffered from uninspiring quarterbacks and predictable play, Sanders is a potential game-changer. Giving him the keys to the offense could revitalize a stagnating team, energize the fan base, and signal a bold commitment to the future. The upside is enormous: a dynamic offense, improved team morale, and the possibility of building around a franchise QB for a decade. On the other side of the equation is risk. Throwing a rookie into the NFL too soon could lead to mistakes, turnovers, and bruised confidence. Sanders has yet to face the speed, complexity, and physicality of pro defenses over a full season. Even the most talented quarterbacks can struggle with the transition, and Cleveland's current roster may not provide the ideal support system for a rookie to thrive immediately. Additionally, mishandling his development could diminish trade value or fan excitement if the early results falter. The Browns' front office must also weigh the risk of inaction. Keeping Sanders on the bench while other teams pursue him could frustrate the fan base, erode trust in management, and waste precious developmental time for a generational talent. There's also the looming possibility that if they fail to act decisively, Sanders' prime years might be squandered in a system that isn't committed to his growth. In that sense, risk isn't just about starting him too early, it's also about doing nothing at all. Ultimately, the choice is a reflection of Cleveland's organizational philosophy. Are they willing to embrace bold, transformative moves and accept the potential short-term growing pains? Or will they continue cautious conservatism, protecting Sanders while risking stagnation and fan dissatisfaction? Every option carries weight, but the fans, media, and league are watching closely. Hope and risk are inseparable in this moment. The Browns' next moves won't just define a season, they could define a decade.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.